I revealed wife's infidelity to everyone. She was shocked that AP was fired and now works in fast food in his mid-50s. I was married to first wife for about 9.5 years when I joined the local sheriff's office as a deputy. I was attending the academy. I was at home more often than usual, as classes were only from 8 to 5 during the week. I finished the academy and returned to shift work at the local jail, night shift, 12-hour shifts. 2 months later, I got a weird feeling that something wasn't right. My wife kept spending time with pastor's wife sewing and crafting. I was off duty and have to change my sleep schedule. I'd go to bed with wife, but couldn't sleep. I went to restroom and saw a text on her phone at midnight. It was the pastor. Thinking it must have been an emergency, I picked it up and read it. It read, "Good night, my love." I was floored, tried to find other texts, but she had deleted them. If it was innocent, the older texts would have been saved. I woke her up at 1 a.m. to ask WTF. She basically said it must be a typo, and why I was snooping. She turned tables on me and got defensive, kicked me out of our bedroom for a month and a half. I thought I had screwed up. I was so stressed I lost 35 pounds in a month, couldn't eat, sleep, a real basket case. I got us counseling, recommended by the pastor. She had me apologizing to him for even thinking that anything was going on between them. She wouldn't talk to counselor, except for quoting Bible verses. She tried to play the holier-than-thou. After the month and a half of this, I saw her diary out unguarded. She had been so guarded of it and her phone since it all hit the fan. I read how she and him were in love and had to sneak around to be together, and that his wife knew. I calmly went to her and said, "You were right for hiding your diary from me. I just read it." Her jaw hit the floor, suddenly got all apologetic. She said, "I never meant it to go this far. I never meant to hurt you. Call him now. I want to talk to him." She called and I demanded to meet him in the morning. I did, at a local fast food restaurant. I walked in with my phone in my pocket on record. I recorded our conversation, legal where I live. He admitted to the inappropriate relationship. He was such a hypocrite. He regularly preached against infidelity, and how he wouldn't counsel a woman alone due to people thinking the wrong thing. I let him speak enough to give me evidence. I was livid, hardest thing I ever had to do. I tried even harder to keep my marriage together, but I'm pretty sure the cheating continued. I moved out to keep my job safe so there wouldn't be any way she could lie and try to start a domestic violence issue and I'd lose my job. People at church asked her where I was for weeks. She lied and said I was working. They contacted me and I wouldn't lie for them. It took a while, but it all came out, and he left the church he founded 25 years ago and started working in fast food, in his mid-50s. It took years for me to finally get over it, but it's messed me up as far as trusting people, especially preachers. Posting this not to be malicious, just sharing for others to read and hope it helps in some way for others going through same. Edit. He stayed with his wife. My ex was left all alone. I had to get over it. We have a child together, split custody. It's been 5 years and I rebounded, and second marriage only lasted 10 months. My choice to leave in second one. My girlfriend cheated on me and is now trying to spare the other guy's feelings. Me and my GF, F30, have been together for almost 2 years. We have known from day one that we are soulmates and want to spend the rest of our life together, get married, have kids, everything. We've been fighting more recently over the last few months, and it's all over mostly little things, added to by stress over jobs, school, money, etc. On Friday we got into a fight. It was both of our faults, over something so small it is ridiculous. But her response to the argument was completely uncharacteristic of her, and it pretty much ended our relationship. She walked out around 11 p.m. without a word, did tell me where she was going, didn't tell me why, or when she would be back. She came home at noon the next day and immediately got into the shower. Now I'm not an idiot, so I immediately suspect she had closeness with someone else, which she is an honest person, so she promptly admitted to his shame and regret. I was livid and hurt. I would have never thought she was capable of doing that. And over something so small, too. I asked her to leave, that I couldn't have someone like her in my life. She rented a U-Haul and packed up everything over the course of Saturday and Sunday, the whole while crying and sobbing and saying that she was wrong and she'd do anything, and how sorry she was and it was a mistake, yada yada. I love my GF. I don't want to lose her. I built a life with her and I don't want to let go of that. So against my better judgment, I told her I didn't want her to go and that I wanted to try to work through this because what we had in our relationship was worth it. I don't feel like I can ever trust her again, but she convinced me that she would do anything to earn my trust back, and I believed her. Well, the first thing I told her was that she had to cut all contact with this guy she cheated on me with. He is a school friend, not just some random guy. They've known each other a while. She didn't hesitate to agree and sent him a text and told me it said that they wouldn't be speaking anymore and to not call or contact her again. I am not one to look through her texts, but given the situation I got curious and asked to see it. I was a bit irritated to see what the text actually said. Something along the lines of, "Thank you for being supportive to me in a time of need. But I am in a bad place right now with him," meaning me, "and I thinks it's best that I cut off all contact with you," to which he replied, "Hey, I'm glad I could help. You're a wonderful person, if you need anything I can be there for you." I got very upset by these texts because she didn't tell this guy the truth. For 2 days she'd been crying and telling me how big of a mistake it was, and how she regretted it and she wishes she could take it back, and to him, she thanks him for being there for her. I told her that my desire was for her to tell him the things she'd been telling me about how she feels. I want him to feel that she doesn't want him, that he was a mistake. I want him to never want to see her again because of the way she feels. But the way they ended it, he thinks he's a great supportive guy that did the right thing. This guy knows all about me and knew she was cheating on me. Anyway, she got super defensive about him, saying she could never say that to him because he really is a nice guy and he doesn't deserve to feel bad, he did nothing wrong, and it was all her fault. And now I'm sitting here wondering if I made a mistake in telling her to stay, and trying to work it out with her after all of this. Am I wrong to wish she would tell him everything she told me about how he was a mistake and she regrets it? I don't want some a-hole who knowingly ducked my girlfriend behind my back to go about his life thinking he's a good guy and that she doesn't get repulsed by the memory. I don't know what to do at this point. Her U-Haul is packed and she is sobbing because I don't know what to tell her. If she told him what I wanted her to tell him, I feel it would have been a small step in the direction of me beginning to trust her again, but her willingness to spare the guy hurt feeling has me thinking that she isn't willing to do what it takes. I feel so lost right now. I don't know what to do. My tricky wife made a plan to take all my money. So I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one in this position. However, 4 years of no love is quite a long time. After marriage everything was pretty normal, but we started to grow apart back in 2015. More fights between us. Nastier fights. She threatened to leave me numerous times. And we just basically stopped having love. I feel like she just resented me and our life together. She just seemed unhappy at times. Don't get me wrong, but we had a lot of fun times together. So my wife is from a foreign country, but the same country of my parents, so we spoke the same language. I was from the States and after marriage she came to the States to live there. And because of this, maybe she had a hard time adapting to the new life and making friends. She complained a lot about how I would always go out and leave her at home. She was a homebody who always wanted me to be with her at home. When we got married, I was the sole breadwinner. She had absolutely nothing to her name when we got together, while I had 2 houses, savings and approximate $200K income. She was practically a homemaker. I never forced her to work or whatever, as I made enough. She was never big on going out and crap. Just liked staying home. She did all the cooking and cleaning. We would always go on vacation 2 to 3 times a year. Friends-wise, whenever she made friends she would eventually stop talking to them. She just couldn't click with any of them meaningfully like from back home. Hence, I was pretty much her only person she had. Because of that, I'd let her go back and forth back home every year for 2 to 3 months at a time. It gave me some breathing room at times from her and give her a chance to meet her friends from back home who she was very close with and her family. Basically gave her a chance to recharge her batteries. So there were a few things that contributed to all this resentment. I started gambling and got a little obsessed with it. I would spend 6 to 8 hours each time whenever I did play. It started affecting my business and relationships at home and with friends. I stopped focusing on my business and began to play more and more. There were times I would come home extremely late, 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Because she was home alone, this always caused us to get into fights. And I can totally understand. I was being stupid around this time and completely irresponsible. Financially, I still had money coming in from my business. So money was never an issue during the relationship like most others. As I began playing more and more, I began to befriend a group of other gamblers. Guys who kinda liked to drink and party. Fast forward to 2018, after 2 years of not having any closeness with my wife, I find myself in a compromising situation. Long story short, I started seeking escorts with my new group of friends. Happened on more than one occasion. I started going out a lot more often at this time with the new friends. Drinking with other girls and doing blow, etc. This party period probably lasted for a total of 8 to 10 months. And then I just kinda smartened up and stopped going out. Felt a cloud of guilt hanging over my head. 3 months pass and my wife just so happens to find out about my past indiscretions. A crapstorm ensues. After a month of trying to work things out, I agree that we move to her home country, birth country of my parents. I've only been there 2 or 3 times before. So my wife heads out first, while I'm back in the US tying up loose ends and packing everything to ship overseas. I wire all of our funds to her account overseas as I cannot open an account until I get my visa. I know this is a spur-of-the-moment decision, but my back was up against the wall at that point. I didn't want to lose my wife. Fast forward to present, and I've been living here for about a year now. I work as a freelancer. My days consist of me working Monday to Friday at home. Literally do not step outside all week until the weekend. I have no friends. I don't know anyone but my wife. My issue is that since I am still working on my visa process, I cannot hold a bank account, so all of our money is in her account. She has since taken over control of all our funds, which I didn't mind, but now she limits me on how much I can drink. There is a local bar next to where we live, 1-minute walk, that I like to frequent on either Friday or Sat night because it has a foosball table soccer. Something I used to play back in my high school days. So there's a group of other foreigners like myself that I play with. However, my wife hates me fraternizing with other people. Seems like she does not want me to meet new people or have any fun whatsoever. She literally gives me enough money to have 2 beers each week. I've never restrained my wife financially like this, before back when we lived in the States or since we moved. She does not go out much at all, but when she does I do not hound her about where she's spending our money on. However, her constant financial control over me has opened a new can of worms. We've fought about this many times. Obviously I'm not used to this, and I find my wife's actions utterly absurd. I feel like a prisoner now. I don't know if I am overreacting or if this is a relationship that I must move on from. Sexually, nothing has changed. She does somewhat let me kiss her at times, but that's all. She always brings up my past mistakes about why she does want to get intimate. I can't really blame her too at the same time. I screwed up and it's on me. Even since living here for the past year, she's threatened me with divorce after numerous fights. Right now we're not talking as we got into a huge fight. I spat in the toilet for the first time because I'm sick, and instead of asking me why politely or telling me not to from now on, she goes ahead and freaks out on me because toilet water would have splashed on the floor. She's fussy that way. Our fights and arguments are so draining. She'll never ever admit to any wrongdoing ever since we've been together. It's always me having to give in. I'll even go 2 or 3 days without talking to her and then just give in even when it's not even my fault. She's stubborn that way. But what's worse now is that ever since the incident, she seems to get angrier with me a lot more easily and just yells at me from the get-go. When I first met my wife, she wasn't anything like that. Maybe marriage just does this to you. One last thing to mention. When we were trying to work things out after she found out about my infidelities, I told her that if we moved back to her home country that I would only focus on her. I was desperate to not break up and said a lot of things that I wish I could take back. I said that I'd stop drinking and going out. Not that I have a drinking problem or anything. This was just one of her demands for us to get back together. And now she's held me to it. So I don't know if I can complain about the situation I'm in. Most likely, I got myself in this spot. Man, I really don't know what to do now. Take a half of our savings and leave? Or grind it out? Sorry, I know this was a long read. I went to wife's work and caught her hugging and kissing a coworker. My wife and I have 2 kids together, 5, 8 months. 2 weeks ago, I suspected something was going on due to her always being on the phone and staying out late every night, usually until around 3 a.m. I went to her work one day and caught her hugging and kissing a coworker. It was just a peck on the lips, so I decided not to confront her. I hired a private investigator instead. 24 hours after I hired the PI, he caught her giving a job to this guy, her coworker, in a Taco Bell parking lot at 3 a.m. I have video evidence to prove it. I consulted a lawyer and wanted to kick her out and take everything, including the kids. After confirming with the lawyer that I had enough evidence, I confronted her. She admitted what she did, but with an attitude, and continues to lie to me about talking to him. He still works with her and she refuses to quit her job at Starbucks. I've told her I want her to leave the house, but with my work schedule it's very hard. I work 12-hour shifts, 2 days on, 2 days off. She says that she has a place to stay with her friend's dad. I haven't let her take the kids there because she's not paying rent and I have no clue who the guy is that lives there. So, she goes to work and comes back to my house every day and stays there with the kids, showers, hangs out, and has only taken 1 carload of things out of the house. She tries to make dinner with me, do laundry at my house, everything. For some reason, I can't tell her to leave. I ask her to leave and the same day I go back and say that I'm sorry and that I want her to stay in the house with me. I tell her that I still love her, still care about her, and want to make things work. She has even said to me that our marriage will never work and that we were going to separate anyway, that's why she cheated. Why can't I just pack up her crap and kick her out? It's so hard for me to do. We have been married for 7 years, together for 10. I love her more than anything, but she is walking all over me and I can't help but let her. Help me. Edit. Found out my ex-wife is driving around on a suspended license. I told her not to take our kids anywhere and she refused. She left yesterday with them. Her license is suspended for not renewing her car registration or inspection. She claims to have over $300 in Easy Pass bills, so she can't afford to pay the fines and have her registration renewed. Since she won't listen to me about taking the kids on a suspended license, should I call the cops on her? I do my best to keep my kids out of it in any way possible, but this could be my only opportunity to prove to the court system that she is irresponsible and that I should have primary custody of my children. Call the cops and have them handle it, or let her keep doing it until she gets caught? We are in Virginia. Edit. My ex finally moved out of my house after we divorced to a place about an hour away. Our divorce decree only says joint legal and physical custody. It doesn't go into it any further than that. She wants to now have my 6-year-old go to school near her house. I don't agree with this because my work schedule is 12-hour shifts, mostly weekends, and I won't be able to see my daughter. She works Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6 p.m. She hasn't set up any kind of childcare yet, but will not budge on the kids living with her. I'm going to call the juvenile domestic court tomorrow.